All right. So first off, we need to do an approval of the January 12th minutes. Hopefully you guys all had a chance to look at those. Could I have an approval? A motion? Hand motions. I need a second.
I'll second.
Thanks, Dan. All right, now we go over to Scott, and Scott's going to give us two reports. His first one is the ongoing projects, which he emailed us. I think Saturday, I think is when I saw it. Could have been Friday. So we'll start with that, and then he's also going to give us some information on the LWRP. So Scott, over to you.
Yeah, so everybody's got the attached reports. I don't know if anybody has any questions on those.
I have one.
Yep, go ahead.
I'm so sorry. No, so you use an acronym SEQR. What is
the State Environmental Quality Review, the seeker process?
Got it. Well, seeker would have like
Seeker.
been SEEKER when you said it, so okay.
State Environmental Quality Review is what that's for. So
That's all right. That was all I had. I just didn't know what it stood for.
Yep.
So I appreciate that.
EDR.
Yes, Erica sent us an email yesterday with a bunch of questions. And I'm responding to her right now because it's the first time I've been at my computer today. I met with Irene today. She drove up to Watertown and met us to go over every project we have. But her and I spent some time on this, and
There's Jean.
it's all done.
Hi, Jeannie.
So I'm telling her right now to get me a copy by Monday. I'll give that as the next update.
I'm sorry.
But no, you're fine. No, that's good news. So, everybody's got a copy of the report, and that's the only question. I mean, a lot of exciting things happening. Things are moving forward since that report. The Village East End Park, they started work today. So
Oh, really?
they're on site. The contractors are on site. They started removing some of the pilings and stuff out of the water. They called Mike Galtieri when I was with them and said they're finding a lot of chutes for coal. Apparently it was an old coal dock where they loaded. He said there's a lot of chutes in the ground from old coal docks. And
One of
some
the
interesting-
Indian artifacts.
If you found any of those, it was not mentioned.
No, if it's Indian artifacts, we have a
It
problem.
was
No,
just
no,
chutes
Dan,
from a coal
no.
dock, but he said they're finding some neat stuff like that they weren't aware of that were out there.
Cool.
Yeah, the rail came right in there, and there's a turnaround across the road where the.
So they did start work today. They were out there on site, and next week they're gonna bring in the rest of their equipment and really start working, weather permitting. So on East End Park. Yeah, we talked today about the Department of State ready in LWRP. I got to talk to Jerry, but I think the intent is maybe mid-April, end of April, to do a groundbreaking and ribbon cutting to highlight all the ready projects that will be complete except East End Park, and highlight the groundbreaking of East End Park in the LWRP portion of it. They want to bring up the Secretary of State and have them here to tour the area and talk about the New York Forward area and projects, and have him right here in person and a bunch of representatives from the Department of State and the Ready Commission. So they would like try to get a good turnout, plan it around something when we can get a good crowd of people there. And I don't know if there's any other events that are coming up. I know the winter's hard in the Cape, even if the school is doing an event where like we could set up a table and just discuss what's going on with the LWRP. They kind of asked if there's anything we could do. I'm like, no, not until July.
Yeah.
But if there is something that you guys are aware of that's going on, or even with the schools holding an event where you could set up a table and just share that information, it would be something they're looking for us to do.
And they're
Scott, there's actually some literature event on Monday. I don't know if we can pull it together, but there's something Monday.
Okay, that one might be a little quick, but if you got anything out in the future on the calendar,
There's gonna be I'll keep you posted.
yeah. So, and then
But you're looking for something around the end of April, beginning of May? For
And
that
then
or
April, beginning of May, when we do
the
schedule it,
groundbreaking? and
we just
everything?
wanna make sure we get a lot of,
Lot
this
of
board
people.
for sure, anybody that's in town that you know of that's got free time that can stop out and tour it and see it in person and just show a good community support.
Yeah.
Especially at the Secretary of State stuff. They are running into one issue, I believe, with East End Park, the dock builder filed bankruptcy.
Oh,
Marty filed bankruptcy and quit building docks, so they're working with another vendor right now. And he's the one that did this dock on Essentine.
okay.
So we're working with the DC builders. We're working with them about the warranty. If somebody needs to carry the warranty because they filed bankruptcy. Yeah, that just happened. I was meeting with Marty last week about it, so it just
Okay.
happened.
What's the company that filed bankruptcy? It's the bigger company that makes those floating docks.
Yeah.
right?
It's the manufacturer.
The manufacturer.
The manufacturer. Yeah, there were
So-
two of them.
There's two companies and this guy Marty started his own. He used to work for the main company. He started his own. He's the one that did Essentine dock, but he filed bankruptcy. I don't remember the name of this company. I just know it's Marty. And it's Marty as well. So, but they're already working with the other company to manufacture the dock. The only thing that might be different is the way of our generator. The way Marty designed it, this new company don't want to do it that way. So there might have to be some changes made on that, but.
You mean on the
East
new
End
one, or
Park.
they'll come back and we need
No,
to
on
change
East
it?
End Park, on the one that,
Is the thought that this bigger, I'll call them the bigger company, would be who might honor a warranty on Esseltine or?
no, the builders will, DC builders will,
Okay,
people that installed it,
okay,
there's already talks that they're gonna take over the warranty on. it.
okay,
They
all
will
right.
fix anything
Hmm.
that may come up from it. So. I think that's the updates, I mean. Outside of, I talked to Jerry today, he still hasn't heard anything new on the New York Forward, they just sent him a big cardboard check, and he's gotta get a picture of the board with the check to send to the governor. I mean, she's to the point where she don't even come out and do it
Oh my
anymore. We'll just
God.
mail you the
They
check and
mailed
you
it.
take a picture and
Wow.
send it to us.
All right.
And I was with the Lewis County's administrator and people today, and they sent Lions Falls a check, and they spelt it wrong.
Oh, no.
Lions like lion.
No, they didn't put Lions, they didn't have the S on it, so it was Lion Falls.
Mm.
They're like, you gotta send us another check if you want a picture, because this is wrong.
Mm.
But Jerry has a big cardboard check for 4.5 million.
Mm.
That you need to get your picture taken in front.
Yeah.
So, so that's the updates. If nobody else has any questions, I'm gonna.
Does anybody on the phone have any questions on Scott's emailed report? Nope, everybody looks, I'm seeing no heads shaking yes, so on to LWRP.
Okay, so, just to give everybody an update on the LWRP, like where we started or where you guys started without me and where we're at today. So the village has had an LWRP since the late nineties and was updated in 2012 for the village aspect, so it only covered the waterfront within the village. In 2016, that's how old this is, the town was awarded $75,000 to expand the villages to include the waterfront areas of the town and update the villages. So now you will have one consistent plan across both communities where the town did not have one before. So in 17, they went through an RFP process and hired EDR, which is Environmental Development Resource out of Syracuse, for $75,000 to produce a complete plan. And the public meetings they held were in 2018. There was one in May of 2018. There was 12 committee meetings in May to December of 2018. And then there was a second public meeting in August of 2018. But I think that's when I at least started with the villages and attended those meetings. So I remember them. But EDR has been the lead on it the whole time. Obviously COVID was in the middle of it. And EDR had some changes. Jane Rice was a planner at EDR for a number of years and she really knew what she was doing. I don't know what happened, but she kind of phased out and this Erica took over. And since then, it's been delayed and slowed to the point where Department of State last month just said, Scott, we want you to finish it and not her. So about a number of hours last month and today meeting with her. So what I gave everybody in the room is just the short description and I'll PDF and email it to everybody, but so basically it's about consistency across the board when it comes to the number of laws and regulations through each. So there's these categories of like development policies, fish and wildlife policies, flood erosion, general policies. So I gave you guys each a sheet. There is two. There's one for the village and one for the town. And what sections of the laws that identify with each of those policies. The village, the town doesn't have to change any laws, that they have all the laws in place now that identify to those sections. The village does have to adopt a flood ordinance. They currently do not have a flood ordinance policy for along the waterfront within the village, so that's something that's on the agenda that we're gonna have to adopt a new law in March. The schedule for this is, I finalized it today with Irene, we made the last changes and requesting EDR to at least finish formatting it and give the town and village a Word copy without any tracks and any comments and a PDF copy without any tracks and any comments. If I can get that by Monday and submit it to Department of State, Irene is gonna try to get a legal preliminary approval of it by Thursday. If we have that by Thursday, the town can adopt it Thursday night as a tentative plan for 60-day review. And then the village can adopt it at their February 28th meeting as the tentative plan. Thursday night on the 16th, the town, if EDR completes it, because they've been paid to do it, do the seeker. So part one of the state environmental review will be done by the town. And it's a phase one, so, or it's a type 2 phase 1 of it. So they identify as lead agent and then they have to send the project to all the involved state agencies. So they'll mail a copy of that page 1 through 13 of the seeker to all the agencies with a description like land use and all those kind of things. And all those agencies have 30 days to say, yes, we agree with the town, move forward, or they say, no, we want to be involved as an agent, lead agent, and take over the seeker process. If they all sign off, after 30 days, the town can complete the seeker and declare a negative declaration. If they don't sign off, the town just has to wait 30 days and they can still do it. So either way, the town will give them 30 days to respond. And as long as none of them question any of it, they can move forward in March with closing the seeker. Because it's the town grant and they're the ones adopting the new plan, they're gonna do the seeker, not the village. So their seeker will take care of the village changes as well. So from the village standpoint, there's not a lot changing. Most of it was already in there and the same. The main sections that changed are the recreational projects, like the new LWRP has all the ready projects in there that are recently done. It has the projects that we didn't get to complete, like the additional pocket park areas from some of the other side streets that we talked about. It has the additional phases of the waterfront committee, like Greg's plan, phase 2, 3, and 4 are mentioned in there as future projects. It identifies future phases of East End Park. So it takes those and puts them in there. So then when we go for grants this summer or next summer, you've got the supporting document that the state paid for to recommend those projects. So that's really one of the key components of it, is it shows that these projects were suggested through a planning process that included the public, that included community groups, and you already have that public support if you were seeking funding.
So the complete document, so this is very helpful to know what laws are involved, but the complete document, once it goes through this 30-day review, where would we see the complete document?
So once we, not even with a 30-day review, once the town and the village adopt it as the tentative plan, it will be posted to the town and village website. It'll be posted on the state site. Department of State has to post it as well
Okay.
for the 60-day review. So the schedule we have is by March, it will go to the state and initiate a 60-day review. So once both of them adopt it and legal signs off for DOS, they will send it out to, in addition to the seeker, they will send out the LWRP to all the agencies involved
Okay,
and give them 60 days to comment, and it gives the public 60 days to comment. So there will be, on DOS's site, there will be probably a link or an email that people can comment to. And I also don't see why we couldn't post it to the LDC site as well. It's all public information,
Mhm.
just to get more feedback. So that would start a 60-day review. But in
Okay.
that 60 days, the town and village has to, the town has to do the seeker, the
Right.
village has to adopt
the flood
the
law.
flood law. And then they, from our preliminary talks, they're not gonna adopt the final plan until after the 60 days. And any comments that come back, because they might need to make changes. So it'll stay tentative until we get all the comments back and the state finalizes it. And at that time, this town and village will adopt it. They will have to have a public hearing in those 60 days. And I met last week with Marty and Jerry, and we're gonna try to plan a joint town village public hearing. So we'll be up here for the public hearing for it, where we'll give a rundown to the public of what's in there and what it means,
Mhm.
and allow for public comment at a joint meeting.
No, that sounds good. We should probably try, as many of us that are in town, to at least also just be there from us.
So it'll be sometime in March or April. It'll be
Yeah,
within that
I'm
60-day
just for
review.
for
Yep.
this board, just, we should probably, if we can be there.
So, like I said, Irene and I made a number of changes to the EDR's plan. Updated a number of sections over the last 3 weeks, and we met today and finalized the last changes. She gave me 2 sections to review over the last couple of weeks, and I made changes, so we went over those today, and she accepted them. And gonna move forward.
Awesome.
So.
I know it's been a long time coming, so it's
Mhm.
great
Well,
news
that's when I
that
started
it's,
going through when she said we're giving presentations, so I started going back through all the stuff, and I'm like, holy cow, this is a 2016 award, like we're 7 years into this.
I
We
know.
start with 35 people, I think. and-
Oh, my gosh, the group was big.
Well, and I went
We were
through the
plowing
list,
right
the
through
list
it,
is
and
in
then
there,
it's
and I'm like, are these people still involved? I'm like, I haven't seen, I couldn't tell you who half these people are, like, I've never met them.
Please tell us we don't have to start again if somebody died, right?
Yeah.
All right, good, thank you. Any questions, from anybody for Scott on this?
Good work.
Good, thank you
Getting
so
it
much.
done finally.
Mhm.
All right, on to officer reports. I have nothing to report. Mandy? Up, you're on mute.
Yeah, and nothing to report. No, there was a person interested in the local area about doing after school care, so we linked her up with some of the parents that were still looking, but she's not interested in a full gig, so. Still people are still having others contact me, so it's still an
Okay.
issue. And the PTO, at the last PTO meeting, they talked about it and are gonna try and work with the chamber. I think the chamber's already fully aware. I don't think they're gonna find out anything that they don't know, but I gave them our information and, said what we're happy to help with if they find somebody's interested.
Great. I'm putting that down by your update on childcare projects, so we'll kill 2
Oh
birds.
yeah, sorry. I
No,
got through
no,
the head.
that's perfect. That's perfect. No, that's okay. I can move up and down. It works. Thank you, Mandy. All right, Jeannie, anything from your perspective that you want to talk about?
Nothing, nope, nothing to report at this point.
Carol?
Well, I'll combine treasurer and the financial report. since they're
That's why you
beside
put
each
them next to each other.
other. I did a couple things. I set up a folder on our shared Google Drive called CDLDC Financial Reports, and I put January's reports in there, and I will post them each month. I've also added bank statement PDFs to the CVLDC banking folder, so that's all there for anybody to see. So, since I didn't let anybody know I'd done that, I have printed out the financial reports. And, simply, we have received from the village, so far, $86,457.90. We've spent, in January, we spent $5 on bank fee, $28,1250 on our grant, and $85.38 on office supplies and software, which leaves us with $83,555.02 at the end of January. Now, the village did just email, or the town just emailed us that they're about to deposit. Did she say how much?
She didn't say how much, but she was looking for to do a voucher with the
Yes.
amount for this
Yes.
year, because they're gonna pay that in March when all the taxes come in. So my understanding, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, the town's gonna pay us their 2023 money in March, and the village is gonna, well, you wouldn't know the village, but the village is gonna pay us in June. So it just comes in pieces.
Yeah.
The
So,
60 from 22 went to the village first, I believe.
right, and that's part of the 83.
And then we'll pay the 23, the 60 and 23, and after we collect some tax money.
Yeah, she was just,
Gotcha.
Michelle was just like, I have to do a voucher and,
Just needed some info.
yeah, so that's moving along nicely.
And then I moved almost all the money into we have a checking and a savings account, so I moved it all into the savings account because we certainly wouldn't want to miss out on that 0.1% interest.
But let's not spend it all in one place, you know?
Yeah, so that's all I've got.
We don't have a lot going on. Could you buy a 90-day CD at 4%?
I don't think it'd be 4%, but it would be worth looking into. It's not a bad idea at all. I'd be shocked if I could get a one for 4%, but I don't know. I haven't looked into it. Maybe even 2%, but yeah, I mean, that's better than 0.1.
You could take a large chunk of it, you know, your own expenses or office and salary for the next 3 months. But
Yeah, I mean, what would we have? How long could I tie up money for?
Well, I think we've got
Yeah, do
some
90
decisions
days.
to make.
90
maybe
days
do
is safe.
90 days, then cycle it into another 90 days. If you don't got a lot going on, but if you know for the next 3 months. it's
Yeah,
going
I
my
mean, it
salary
might
and
make
rent.
sense to wait for March, and then you get that influx of the 60, and then you'd have a bigger amount,
Right.
more money makes more money.
Number.
Even if it's
Yeah.
only like 2%, but.
But you could check into it.
I will
Yeah.
check into it. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Will do. It's a good idea, Scott.
All right. Anything else? Any other questions from,
So these two reports I made are supposedly typical nonprofit reports. One is a statement of activity and the other is a statement of financial position. They're basically the same thing because we don't have a lot going on. They'll get a lot more detailed when we have something. But again, that's the kind of thing that we'll want, once we have an auditing firm, we'll want them to look over and say, yeah, that is how you should be doing this, because I have not done anything with a nonprofit before, so.
Right.
But, you know, I think I'm off to an okay start.
yeah,
I would say
I
so.
think it's great.
Awesome.
And we have pretty checks and.
Pretty checks, I love the
They're
checks.
pretty checks. and, you know, this is
Thank you,
great.
Joe.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, now comes the big part. So, Sharon, I'm going to ask you to share your screen. And while she's doing that, so the governance committee, thank you for all of you who took the time to make comments on the RFP document and the process. And these guys met, I think it was Tuesday night. And they have something to share with us as a proposed RFP document and process. And I believe they also have written a resolution so that we could move forward. So, Darren, over to you.
It is saying host disabled participant screen sharing.
Are you kidding? I hate
To
this
make
thing.
her host.
Okay, so.
Click on her name, like up on her name in the corner, there should be a little drop down
Oh, I
box.
see it, yeah.
Make her a host or allow her to
Make
share.
host.
screen. There you go.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I'm a Teams user. All right, try now, Sharon.
Okay. Here we are, click on the right thing, right screen. Alrighty, so let me actually bring the,
We can see it. Excellent, thank you.
hey, good deal. I have to, all right, so now I'm trying to get this out of the way so I can actually click on the item that I want. How do I get that black bar out of the way?
I'll go over my report again.
No, I'm trying to get to, all right, hold on, let me stop sharing for a second and actually pull the correct thing up first. It was hidden there. Here we go. It's loading. Let me back to my Zoom tab. If I can find it. You guys still up?
No, I have no idea
Okay.
how I told her she couldn't share.
Must
Must be the default.
Try this again. Share screen. And all right, we're there. Can you guys see that?
Not
No.
yet.
No. You had it a minute ago.
Let's try this again. Maybe I need to. So I'm sharing this screen. Oh, maybe I'm. Oh, all right. Hold on. Let me.
When you click share screen, it should give you an
How about
option.
that?
It's starting, it's starting. We got it, Pam.
Yeah,
Excellent.
all right. A little bit of operator error there. Okay, so yeah, as Mary said, we all met on Tuesday, and then based on a lot of the comments, the feedback that we got, we incorporated feedback, and also it just seemed to make more sense to adopt the format that Scott had provided. The North Hempstead format was, sort of a lot cleaner, covered, I think everything that we needed, and a little bit additional. So that's the format we went with. And obviously updated it for Cape Vincent needs. So that's actually posted out on the Google Drive. But what we discovered when we were going through that is there were a few items that we had questions about. So we wanted to just run that by the whole board to just close on those, make the updates real time, and then we can move forward with the resolution if everyone's in agreement. So again, if you had a chance to look at what Scott sent, basic flow is the background, so just right from the get-go, we have the information of where we can be contacted, stating that it's, what the request for proposal, bit of background on the CVLDC, taken right from the website. So this brings up the first question in the highlighted area. In the example that was provided with the North Hempstead, they had a section there that said, they're funded by, and then had all their various funding sources. We weren't sure if that's something we're required to do or that we want to do.
I don't think it's something you're required to do, but like some areas want credit for what they're funding. So maybe that's why Hempstead did it. Like if the village and the town wants credit for funding your operation, they might want it in there, but I don't think it's mandatory.
Would another reason be that if somebody's gonna book a proposal to us, they might want to know that we have a steady source of income that's sort of more reliable than a startup? Because basically we're a startup. I just wonder, what do you guys think about putting in there, it's currently funded by the town and village of Cape Vincent through taxpayer dollars or something like that?
Well, one thing we questioned too is we didn't know if this would change. Just as a note to anything in italics is, where, we'd tailor it, where it would be tailored depending on what the RFP was for. And we didn't know if the funding source would change depending on what the RFC was for.
It could in the future, certainly. If
Yeah.
if it's in the future, if we have a grant and we're.
Right, yeah, it would change, it would change, so maybe.
And in that case, it would even not even say the CVLC is funded, it would say that
This work is funded.
as part of. the grant or
Maybe leave
something.
it
No, it's a
like
good
you have
section.
it.
We're
Yeah.
gonna need to, I think it's a good section, and we'll probably have to tweak it at
Yeah.
times. But for now, I think it's,
For the
it's
template.
funded by the town and village of St. Vincent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, so we can get rid of that highlighting. Oh, maybe, shoot. let me-
do it later, Sharon, if you have to.
Okay. I was hoping to kind of do it on the fly just because, so that way we can just get right to the resolution. But if I can't, then we'll do it later. But, and the other thing too, I just thought of another reason maybe to keep it in there is that for the conflict of interest potentially. I mean, I don't know if that really makes a difference, but then someone knows like, oh, wait, I can't bid on this because it's funded by my, brother or
right.
something.
That's a good point.
Good point,
That's a
yeah.
good point. Yeah, and we're a 9-member board, correct? Because there's, yeah, we're 9, because it's 7 if you don't count the 2 liaisons, but it's 9.
Oh, right.
Voting
Yes,
members.
because
So
it's 7 voting. And also, so
9 voting.
we highlighted this item because they had, and it may be just sufficient to have that, they had a big block with, a lot more details saying, and we have, 3 full-time staff and, blah, blah, blah. But, do we want to leave just a statement like this in there? Just,
Yeah, I think so.
I think that's good enough.
all right, sounds good. So that highlighting can be turned off as well. Okay, so scrolling down, then the next section is scope of services. And the content here is just the example of what they were looking for auditors in their particular RFP. So that's why we have the statement in there saying, that this is just an example and will be tailored just so you can see the level of detail. So it's the scope of services section, followed by general proposal requirements. Again, theirs is tailored to, what they were looking for. But I think it's good as an example, for type of information we want.
Well, especially since the first thing we're going to use it for is auditing.
Yeah.
So it's great.
Right. So it's you're right. So it's very close potentially already. So, okay, we had a question in this section too. One of the statements I had was about the evidence of professional liability coverage. So we weren't sure if we had that mandate or, should, kind of what the dollar amount would be. And then it was recommended to add a caveat of some sort that said, with the CVLDC listed as an insured party or as an additional insured party, something like that. So it's,
Scott, that's what we have in yours.
My contract is $1 million, $2 million umbrella with the CVDC additionally assured in the town and the
Yep.
village.
So how would you wordsmith 10? So it
I can
matches
send you the
yours.
language of my contract if you want.
She's trying to write it right now.
Yeah, can you tell her exactly what it says? She just.
I think
wants-
additional insured party for sure.
Yes, it is. And additional insured is common insurance language.
The million is what I'm seeing on everything, all the time, so.
I think
Now, it's
$1 million
interesting.
and a $2 million umbrella.
Okay, so would you say 1 million aggregate and a 2 million umbrella? I don't
Did we
understand.
require that? If we did
Yeah.
that, what you're saying? Is that what you had anyways? Like, is that what you've always had?
That's what I've always had.
Okay.
Because Cape was my first contract and that's what we required right out of the gate.
So we should be consistent with what the other
Yeah.
2, the
Sure.
municipalities ask for. Just so you guys know, because we're working on an agreement with the Lighthouse Board, New York State requires 2 million.
Which is covered probably under the umbrella.
But I mean, we have to have the Lighthouse Historical Society will need 2 million in liability insurance for the New York State folks. So,
Should we check with if there's any state mandates there for our non-for-profit status?
well, yeah, that's true. We are not for profit, as are they.
Right.
I don't know who we would check with, Jeannie.
Well, I'd start with the village and town and see, we should parallel because really we're serving them. I would say we'd start with the village and town as to what their liability coverage mandates are. Because they are our primary parties. And then from there, if there's any additional detail we need.
Yeah, so that's what Sharon just put in, because that's what Scott's language is what the village and town needs. So,
Okay,
so
Also,
so
I
I
think-
think I'd be good with that. Yeah, for now.
and also, I think we kind of discussed at the meeting, since we have the caveat in there saying, above where we say will be tailored, as appropriate kind of thing. We all agreed kind of at the meeting that the first time this template is actually used, for a real RFP, things are going to change. So we could always address that at that time if it's slightly different wording.
I agree.
Okay, so we will get rid of that highlighting here as well. All right, and so then they had a section for additional submission requirements, which are in the appendices. You'll see that. Evaluation criteria, which Mary had pointed out, I think that's a really good addition that they had that we didn't originally have. But this is where we had, so here they have this again. All right, so let me update this.
Why is that there twice?
I think.
I think this is part of the
Evaluation.
criteria.
Yeah, almost like a checklist to make sure they.
Oh, it's all offers must include these forms. Okay.
Okay. As
I'm looking at the Brony sentence, which is, that's great.
Okay.
Yeah, I know, that was just, I really liked their format a lot.
Yeah, I think it's
I
really
think
good
we need to
format.
update number 11. It says, I just saw like Nassau County.
Oh, I think this is a number 11. Where are you looking? Oh, back here.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, this is all part of the wording that is just that
An
we
example.
would tailor as, but yeah, I see what you're saying. We should, oh, here we go. Yeah. I see what you're saying. Okay, so this would be the Jefferson County office.
I
don't know that we have one of those.
Yeah, so at this point, I would just say, I mean, I think if you are a minority owned or women owned business, then we probably need to have that in there.
They do, if you're a diverse, minority, or disadvantaged vendor, is what women and minority vendors have. They do need to be certified by New York State, Empire State Development. That I do know New York State has to validate you, because I was a woman-owned business, but that's New York State. So I don't know about the county though, but I would say you have been certified by a specific government entity, because there is a national entity too. And it escapes me, it's been a couple of years, but I would say if you're an owned organization and certified, and then leave the certification to whatever, because again, there's different certifying bodies for women owned and minority.
And provide certification.
I would leave it.
Yeah, you have to provide evidence. Yeah.
Right, and provide.
There's usually a certification and a number.
I would word it that you need to be on the Empire State Development certification list, because if you get any grant money and you want to use their work towards the grant percentage, they have to be on that list. It doesn't matter if they're certified by anybody else. If they're not on the state list, you don't get credit for their services.
Now, if it isn't grant money, and let's use the example of a CPA auditor for Carol, that would be our normal funding. So, but I still think if we're going to attempt to get credit for a disadvantaged vendor, we definitely want their certification, because there's different governing bodies.
Can we say something like this?
I think what Scott's saying is, since we're in New York State, if they want to be considered as one of these disadvantaged organizations, then they just need to provide that they have been certified by New York State. They need to give us the documentation that they've been certified by New York State Development.
Sometimes
that is there.
Yeah.
But sometimes that is not the case with a private, like a CPA firm. They may be certified by a national organization. My certification was national. It wasn't New York State.
The state
So
with MWB.
Yeah, so Scott's saying the state wouldn't recognize you, so.
possibly not. It varies. Because I did state contracts. So I guess what the reality is you want certification, validation.
I think that's looking pretty good how you've got it right now.
Yeah,
Do you think that's okay to add this other section
Yeah,
there? Add this in
Yeah.
and you, and or.
Yeah.
because it's saying if you have been, so,
Right, so it says like this, or, any
yeah,
other, okay.
yeah, I think that looks good.
So the last section that we had highlighted in the evaluation, thanks for catching that, Nadira.
Yeah, good catch.
And the last section that we had in the, I think that we had highlighted is, they also had this section in the evaluation criteria, which at first glance, it's like, oh, that's neat, it gives us a scoring system, but then that opened up a whole can of worms, as we discussed. And then especially Jeannie, had mentioned from her HR experience, this is so subjective. There's nowhere that it says, excellent equates to this or good equates to this. So we just weren't really sure how to.
or even if we include it.
If we, Nadira had proposed, we can, use a similar evaluation point scoring, but not necessarily have it included in our template that can, be our internal evaluation. So thoughts on
Scott,
that?
do you have to include in this? In these.
How you're
proposals,
gonna
how we're
score it?
score 'em?
You don't have to, but it's good to sometimes let the people proposing know what you're looking for, so they can tailor their proposal to meet your points.
Mhm.
Um,
So this other one you sent us
and you don't have.
didn't
to
have any
put-
of that.
Yeah, you don't have to, that's totally up to you. I mean, it's not a requirement of it.
I think if we do include it, then we have to have some, excellent equates to,
Yes.
exceeds all,
Well, I think, yeah, I think we have to think about this. I think there's two questions. So when one of the group, finance, you guys are gonna be doing this first, you're gonna have to think about how are you going to write the proposals as they come in? Right? Is there anything besides they're the cheapest? Right? And so at least when I'm thinking out loud here, guys, it seems to me that we definitely want whoever's sponsoring the RFP from our group to, before they send it out, give thorough thought to how are they going to evaluate it when it comes back in. Now, it may be these questions, it may be different questions. So I think that's the first thing I would propose. How do you all feel about that? Before a proposal goes out, we should know how we're going to evaluate them coming back in.
I don't have a yank of what they got up there. I mean, professional technical experience in government accounting and auditing. If they don't have any experience, they're not gonna get any points. I mean, I understand what you're saying, Sharon, what's his excellence relate to? I mean, you could maybe make the points different, but those are the important points that you're gonna be looking for. Experience, timeliness, you can check references.
Whoever's scoring them is
Yeah.
gonna score them the same. So like if I'm excellent and the other person's good, you're gonna make that determination as a reviewer and scorer.
Yeah,
I think,
I
I think the weighing of criteria is acceptable. Like, as you can see, there's 10 points that a vendor can obtain, 20 points, 20 points. And they're gonna lead their proposal towards the higher point submissions. But the excellent, good, and fair makes me nervous, because then we have to justify what that means. So I think the criteria is appropriate, but the point scoring makes me nervous. That's all.
Yeah. You could leave the numbers and the 10 points, 20 points, 30 points, and just take out the 5, 10, 0, and let whoever the scorer is determine where they're at. Like you can give 7 points or whatever based on how you review the other one.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I think someone had mentioned too, like when we, say there's multiple bidders, then when we do, debrief them and let them know why they didn't win, obviously at that time we'll say, you earned 8 points based on, whatever. I like that. Are you guys in agreement with that? Just get rid of the excellent, good, fair?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I like the points, so however many points you have on your proposal, add up to 100,
Right.
and you work. Yeah.
So all I was saying is that I think this is a part that would be changed based on what we were going out for,
Absolutely.
right?
Correct.
Yes.
And people
Absolutely.
need, and whoever is like the, so in this case, finance, you guys are gonna say, this might be a good list. But you guys are gonna decide what those 100 points are.
And you may only need 4 criterias, depending on the complexity of the RFP. I mean, this has a lot of criterias. You may not want to have, 10 criteria. So it just depends on the complexity of the RFP.
Yeah, no, I think this is good.
Yeah, I like the thinking about upfront, so you don't just get them and say, okay, now how are we gonna figure out what we
Yeah,
want,
this
it's
forces
more
us-
than the money.
This forces us to think about it up front. If
Yes.
it's in our RFP.
Yeah,
So I'm with you.
yep. Okay, again, lots of head shaking in the room, yes.
So, and this little disclaimer in italics. So let's get rid of one of these brackets. And get rid of that. Get rid of the highlighting. All right, and I think that's what we have. They've given proposal submission instructions, and then so we did have another item here. Okay, this was again more about that. So we just wanted to confirm that this had mentioned about this is subject to freedom of information, which we assumed ours still was, but do we need this disclaimer? Is that a true statement for us?
Yeah, you'd want them to know that once you received them and reviewed them and hired, like, other firms can ask for a copy of them. I mean, that's.
They can ask for everybody else's proposal.
Unless,
Yeah.
okay. So you would never do a closed bid? You always do open bids?
You can't, they're public documents. They're all.
Okay, got it.
If somebody
Got it.
points them, you could redact like financial information and specific company information that you request, but the proposals themselves are pretty open.
Okay, makes sense.
It's that easy. And I don't know if we had any, then they had this first exhibit was non-collusion. And then the proposer has to sign that. The next form was just a questionnaire about the organization, any lawsuits, that kind of thing. That also has to be signed by the proposer, and then conflict of interest. And that has to be signed as well. And so that's the whole form. I don't know if anybody else on the governance committee, was there anything I missed? Any other points we discussed?
No, Sharon, great job.
So
I think you guys have done a fantastic job. This looks
Great
really,
job.
really good.
I do have 2 questions. Should we be using the PO box or the 121 South Market? That's one thing.
Well, the problem with
Whose is the PO box?
the PO box is the town. I think
Okay.
Michelle gets our mail and then she emails me and I go pick stuff up. But, I mean, we had talked about this earlier, do we need to get a PO box
We
that
did talk about
somebody's checking?
But also if we use 121 South Market. it's
It
gonna go
ends
to
up going to the
partners,
insurance
And they're gonna
company.
give it to us or
It's-
stick it on a desk.
Yeah, well, the last time was, Mary Ann, sent me an email and said, you got mail.
I mean, I knew that.
It's just, I hate to kind of like, I honestly don't mind as much about the town, but it's like, cause they're kind of affiliated with us, but for Mary Ann, I hate to make her, have to like have an extra thing where she's gotta like email me and stuff.
So hence my question.
I know, so what do we wanna put in there? Should we? I mean, the town seems fine with us sending things to
I mean,
the,
I don't think they care.
no,
What's a PO box?
Because here I'm talking to Michelle today in an email and saying, use PO Box 915, so obviously we have to pick it up.
Yeah. Which is, yeah, and like I said, I don't mind, she just sends me an email. And I just-
Where do you want me to mail the check? PO Box 915.
So did you say PO Box 19?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's put a PO Box 915 for now. I mean, it's as easy for me to go up and pick it up from Michelle as it is for me to get a key and go down to the post office and check and see if anything's there.
That way you know there's something there and you're not just going and checking it.
Exactly, as long as Michelle doesn't mind, and she doesn't seem to, and she and I shoot the breeze well. in
Okay,
there,
so that's,
it's
and question two is that email, where does that go?
It's on
And
my-
I just got this
fine.
up.
No, I was gonna ask that in my section, but we could forward that to everyone, or whoever wants to spearhead it. We've got nothing so far, but,
Yeah.
So right now you're getting it.
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I
Okay.
check it when I do the YouTube videos, when I put them up there.
yeah.
But
I mean,
Yeah,
I
we
would think
received
eventually when we have an executive director, that's where it would go.
It would go to the executive
do we
director.
want to
So-
use that one? Because that was a quick one I made just for
Yeah.
contact submission. We can make it Cape LDC if it's available or something
I think
more
that, yeah,
nondescript.
I think I just use the same one, and you've only got one you're monitoring.
I like it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you don't mind keeping monitoring it until we.
So we
you know,
get, I mean, that's one of those things that the executive director would do, right? They would take care of this. At that point, we might get a post office box and they would be checking it, but right now it's we kind of loose.
And then Mary, then I just listed you as the, to attention, but then, I guess that can be decided as whatever.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, for now, and then, at some point, we might for, certain proposals, it might be, finance, it goes to Joe or whatever.
Okay. But again, to this, since this is a template, that we can.
Yeah.
If need be. So if everybody's good with that.
Anybody else have any other questions or comments on this?
The only thing I didn't see, and it may be in there, and I was looking up language for you, is there they indemnify the board and its members and its employees from any legal action if something was wrong? I mean, you might not need it, but for other RFPs, you might need an indemnification clause.
Is that done, Scott, though, in public service? Is it done at the point of contract execution? Usually you have for legal notices when you execute a contract, but not
Yeah,
always in the RFP process.
It's done as part of the contract, but I didn't know if you wanted to highlight, because you're highlighting the insurance clause, that maybe that there will be an indemnification clause as well, just so they're aware of it.
Can you
It
go
might
down?
not be needed, but
Yeah, can you go down to where the insurance was, and maybe this is an italicized thing, Sharon?
it definitely would be part of the contract, but I didn't know if you wanted to
Yeah.
highlight that in there.
Is this, we have, what is this section? General proposal requirements.
Right. So
Yeah,
we're down around number
yeah, maybe
10,
it's more
Scott.
contracting, yeah, that makes.
Because it's not really a
that provides the-
requirement for them.
It's not a requirement, it's a notice.
Yeah,
So
It would be a
looking,
notice.
looking at the other one you sent us, the town of Seneca,
yeah,
they have a section that says the only forms necessary to be submitted with your proposal are the following: the proposal form filled out completely, indemnification form signed, insurance certificate or letter of intent showing insurability, and
see,
references.
some require you to sign a certificate in advance.
So, and that was.
Would it
in-
be in attachments, like Exhibit A or something like that, guys?
Yeah, it's probably like the non-collusion clause that you've.
Yeah, it'd be
got signed
another,
as part
it
of-
would be another.
It would be in the attachment.
Is there a form in there to sign?
There's not. Yes, there's an indemnification form, the last page of the other one.
And that's the Seneca one?
Mhm.
So Sharon, do you want to just pull that in from the Seneca one? I mean, you don't
Yeah,
have to
and
do
where's-
it now.
Okay.
It says, it's an A and a B, except for the amount, if any, of damage contributed to, caused by or resulting from the negligence of the town. The contractor agrees to indemnify and hold harmless the town of Seneca Falls, its officers, employees, and agents from and against any and all liability, damage claims, demands, costs, judgments, fees, attorney's fees, or loss arising directly or indirectly out of the performance or failure to perform hereunder by the contractor or third parties under the direction or control of the contractor, and to provide defense for and defend at its sole expense, any and all claims, demands, or causes of action arising out of the agreement. So that's pretty basic, and that would be easy to slide in this whole.
Yeah,
form,
just
the
slide it
whole
in
form.
as one more form at the back that they have to sign.
So up in the
Yeah.
top, we need the indemnification form, and then this would be the agreement.
Yeah.
You have the Seneca one too, Sharon?
I should have, was that in the email?
Those ones
It
Scott
was,
sent us.
yeah,
He
Scott
emailed
sent
us.
us 2 examples.
Yeah.
And one was Hempstead and the other was St.
Oh, yeah, then I have it. So for purposes, if we want to vote on the resolution tonight, do you think it's all right if I just put at another page as an exhibit A4 with, something saying include?
I think so, yeah, so we can move on. Yeah, I think,
Okay.
and then you just fix it before we,
I would just add another exhibit A, or what do you got it as? Exhibit
Yeah,
A4,
A4.
whatever it is.
yeah. Yep, she's gonna do A4.
Where's my break? I'm not used to doing this right in Google.
You know, there's nothing worse than
Right.
trying to type while other people are watching you. It's awful. I've done that.
This will be,
Indemnification.
it's gonna be, whoops. That will be exhibit 4. All right, indemnification, all right, that one.
Indemnification agreement is what this one's called.
Indemnification agreement.
There we go. And then I'll just put a,
Yeah. Good. All right.
okay. And then I can insert that, but at least that, makes us
Yep.
for tonight. Whoops, maybe. Heavens, I try and get fancy here. All right, there we go. So I think that's all we have for that one.
This is great. I thought we were gonna need a separate working session to get through this, and yeah, it's great.
They did a great job.
So that's all we have for the RFP.
Okay, so do you also want at this point to share the resolution? I think we're probably comfortable to vote on that at this point.
Get to it. Why am I, what is my problem here? All right, it's hidden behind the, what am I doing wrong here? How do I get to my little tab up there?
Sharon, make sure you save that, your edits.
It just said it's saved, but yeah.
It
It
did
just
say
said
save.
save.
Big side,
Does
Jeannie, I
such a
agree with
great
you.
job.
Did it save? Okay.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure you did a great job doing it on the fly.
yeah.
So now I have to take some minutes to load. All right, can I move this black screen out of the way? How would they move this
That's
thing?
the problem. You can't see the tabs when you're presenting.
Oh, it just went away. Okay, so hold on. We're so close. Okay, all right, we can get to it. We go to our resolutions. Okay. And then Jeannie typed this up for us. Yeah, that looks like the attachment. Let's try this again. Let's go to the resolution.
Yeah.
I thought you had it.
Yeah,
As
You
two
had it.
separate, instead of having the RFP form attached right with it, because it has its own separate header and things like that. So in the resolution, here we go, this should actually be the resolution. It's, the standard resolution you're used to seeing, and then the second page just says Exhibit A,
Okay.
actual template provided as a separate attachment, if everybody's okay with that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we did that with the budget. I think that was the same way we did the budget.
Oh, okay, good. So here's the actual resolution. If everybody wants to have a look at that. Oops.
So moved.
All right, so let's see. I think we just have to go down through the vote. And actually, Sharon, since you're there, if you do X's, for everybody's vote, we'll be good. So,
Okay,
Make a motion and second.
right, thank you. Thank you. I heard it, but didn't write it down. All right, so Nadira. You're on mute. You have to say yes.
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
I'm a yes. Jeannie,
Yes.
Mandy,
Yes.
Sharon,
yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Pam.
Yes.
Excellent. All right. And then Joe, what I'll do, or do you want to just do your magic and put
Yeah,
my
I'll
signature on it?
Yeah.
Thank you. It makes it so much easier. Thank you. Just save that and my signature will magically appear.
These guys a lot.
Wonderful. Thank you. That's great. That's so good. All right.
Someone lined up.
You can work on that. I'm going to continue to try to get us through the agenda. Okay,
All right,
excellent.
sounds
Thank you.
good.
All right,
Mhm.
update on executive director, Pam and Sharon.
Oh, okay, well then I won't. And Sharon, let me.
Sharon can just keep going.
Sharon can just,
So
you know, I do
I will
think about it as I put order, like, okay,
Yeah.
somebody's already talking.
All right, so this one I actually have on my desk. So Pam and I got together virtually and discussed the comments against the spreadsheet that was out there that listed the position descriptions. And so based on that, we actually have a few topics for discussion before we actually, provide the updated or, propose an updated list. I think we decided there were items that really, need board discussion, just to make sure everyone's on the same page. So can you guys see that chart?
Yeah,
No, we see the board resolution still.
we're looking at the board resolution.
Okay, I think I have to stop sharing and start this again.
We can see it, Sharon.
Oh,
Okay, sounds good. Let's get rid of that for now. Okay, so like I said, there's probably more questions than answers here, but just to sort of make sure that everyone is all on board with. Actually, let me. Oh, no, never mind. Okay, I won't be able to see you guys for a little while. So make sure that everyone is sort of thinking the same thing. So one thing, based on the comments, it sounds like the executive director position will be a more administrative leaning role as opposed to a leadership decision-making role. I guess, does everyone sort of agree with that?
I think right now that is the case, right? I mean, they're going to be providing so many of the services that, things Dan's doing, I'm doing, Carol's doing, Jeannie will be doing as the secretary. I think, over time that, if, we get to the point where we've got a lot of stuff going and we're hiring employees and, then it becomes a different role, but I think it's a fancy title for an administrative role. That's my opinion. I don't know what other people think.
So actually, Pam and I, discussed the same thing. It's like, when the job's posted, if someone sees out there executive director, they may think it's more of a leadership decision making, but if that's not what really we're looking for initially, should it even be titled that?
Yeah, the only reason I would suggest not to change it is it's all over the policy and we'd have to go through and do all those resolutions to change the title. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just like,
although on the, oh yeah, that's true. I was gonna say in the bylaws, it says that we may, hire an executive director. So yeah, I don't know if we say, no, this is actually, a different role and, maybe an executive director would be a position that would be filled later.
I think you could evolve the description of the role, as it changes, right? And you'd probably hire different people, You know, if it became much more of a leadership kind of a role, you might want to hire, you know, somebody, you probably want to pay him more money than we have budgeted, that's for sure. I mean, I think we budget 30 or something in that initial thing, I think.
But if we aren't looking for, if we're looking for more of an admin person, maybe we just want to hire an like admin officer and not an executive director right now. Because if we hire an executive director now, but the person that applies for the job and we end up hiring is fulfilling more admin job duties, the pay would probably be different and they might not be able to do the executive director job. And somebody who is looking for an executive director might not want to do some of this stuff because they might feel it's beneath their skill level. So it might be better just to hire an administrative officer of some sort if that's the duties that we're looking for right now. We could always merge it later on, but I just wouldn't want to hire an executive director and then not give them the executive director full duties, if that makes sense. I don't know.
I agree.
I agree.
So Christy for the chamber is called the executive director. How would this role be different?
Christy's the face of the chamber. I think she's very much in a
Mm.
leadership role.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think she's doing it all, basically. if you're
She is,
as a
yeah.
chamber.
yeah.
And I'm sure in a huge decision-making role there as well,
Yeah, that could be.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, she does have a board.
right? But I think she's,
Leave the back.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so it sounds like, am I kind of hearing consensus that what we want to hire is an administrator?
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think it does.
And we still don't know what that actual time commitment is from somebody.
We don't. I think what, you know, I was sharing with Carol, I went out because somebody had warned, and Jeannie, you're gonna like say Mary doesn't know anything about this and I can explain it all to you, but the difference between an employee or hiring an LLC or LLC, and Scott, I think you might have been the one who sort of warned us, you know, we can't say this person
Right.
can be in the office, right?
Right.
There's a piece of me that says, I want to see somebody in that office on a regular basis. Now, it
Mhm.
doesn't mean they've got to be there for 40 hours a week, but we should have something where the town says, yes, I can go there. And Scott, I think you're going to use you're using the office on Thursdays. Have you been?
I haven't been yet. No, Dan was gonna give me another key.
Ah, there you go. Dan's getting him a
He's
key.
got it right there.
So, I mean,
Dan.
so we know Scott is usually in town on Thursday, and as an LLC, we can't tell him when to be there, but we know somebody would be in there. Then if we hire an admin person, do we want it to be that flexible, or do we want to say,
Right.
yeah, this person's gonna be there on Tuesdays? I think, then you'd have to say there was definitive hours, right? And then it would be an employee, or do you say something to the effect of, this is how much time, and it's time and materials, it's how much time they spend, and we pay them an hourly rate? I mean, that's another way to do it.
And they determine their hours, but
Yeah,
then they're.
I don't think for like a contracted employee, we can determine necessarily the hours as it's getting done. At least that's kind of how
You
what we're
can.
dealing with at work right now, my office.
it depends, if it's in, at
It
least my.
I guess
depends.
it'd have to be,
Jeannie, please weigh in here, because this is your expertise.
Yeah, you have to do it on the front end of the agreement. So if you are going to pay them an hourly fee versus a project fee. So the statement of work would determine how the contractor or vendor would document their time and how they would be reimbursed. So it can be dictated in the statement of work, for sure. Because I'll give an example. So an engineering consultant could be billed hourly. It just depends. It depends on the statement of work and how we phrase it.
given that this position is gonna be someone who needs to come to the board meetings, take the minutes,
Mhm.
do the filing, be in the office sometimes, it is definitely more admin. Is that gonna qualify anyone to be not classified as an employee? Ever?
You can have an independent administrative assistant that has their own 1099. I mean, you can. It just depends on how much of a arm's length we want on the employer responsibilities.
And then,
Isn't that what we talked about, is that we need to set it up as an independent consultant because we're not in the shape right now to carry all the additional insurances and
Correct.
like
You
all that stuff. So this, I think that's
in payroll, you
Right.
have to do the payroll. You have to set up with the state all your employer
yeah. So
registration.
so it has to be an independent consultant, but I think if we're gonna put this out there, we need to keep it as flexible as we can make it to get a good person to apply. We're not gonna get somebody who's gonna come sit in the empty office and hang out for 10, 20 hours a week because we want them there. I think I think we can say we want you in the office 5 or 10 hours a week, but we're going to need them to come to meetings. We're going to need them to work off schedule. So I think we need to be flexible, and it might allow us to get somebody who's looking for a part-time job that's going to fit the job better rather than fitting I don't know, I think we'll get a better pool of applicants if we keep it flexible. Everybody now wants to work from home and be flexible. So if we're telling them they have to be in the office 20 hours a week for what we're going to be able to pay them, we're not going to get a good person, I don't think. That's my opinion.
And it hasn't really proved necessary in the past. I mean, with the projects we have going on in the coming next couple of years, I think there'll be more people in that office, but
I think you need an executive director. I think you need a face that's going to be a leader of this organization. If your goal is to go out and do business development and get people to invest and come into your community, you're going to need somebody that's going to attend meetings at the county level with the IDA, that's going to attend meetings with potential investors. And I know as chairman, might not want to be doing that much work and attending meetings with state officials. To me, I think you want somebody that's going to be the face and be a leader and organize and go out and seek that for you.
Mhm.
And I don't think.
And I think if you
that's an
think about
administrative
this
person.
New York forward and what role the LDC might play, and we don't know that yet. But it would seem to me that part of the reason the village wanted the LDC is so we could do legwork on stuff like this, right? And right now, that executive director would be a person who could do a lot of that, could set up meetings and that kind of thing for the LDC, because otherwise it's gonna fall on you guys.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. You're not
Yeah.
gonna want in July to attend a meeting in Albany, with a local development conference that's having funding. I think as a new organization that wants to get on the ground running and start looking at people investing in your community and with $13 million worth of construction projects in the next 2 years, I think you have the opportunity to have somebody go out there and do that for you. And I don't think just hiring somebody that's taking minutes and filing paperwork is the route to go.
True.
I just don't.
You need
That would
somebody
be
with
my
leadership skills.
recommendation.
That's a good
You need
point.
somebody that's gonna be the face, that has that title, that can go speak to other organizations and state agencies with authority. Like,
Mhm.
I'm the executive director, I'm sent here on behalf to do this job,
Mhm.
and I have that ability. And I don't think that's, I don't think hiring an administrator
Even though there's gonna be
Everyone knows.
administrative work, I think that's good.
no, I do too. I mean, that takes us right back full circle from where we started.
Right.
But
That's my thought. I
No, I
think-
think that you articulated that well.
And if that's the case, then, and yeah, I think everything that we makes sense, Scott. So if that's the case, then do we want this person really being the one who takes the minutes, or should that, sorry, Jeannie, be a secretary?
No problem.
you know, that's what I've seen actually. Secretary.
She's like, yeah, have a good
Before we took the minutes. So is the executive director going to want to take the minutes?
The thing is that the MRB group did this and based the executive director stuff in the policy bylaw statements as other directors. So, you know, there's not a job in the world, right? I mean, I was the head of all learning for Hershey, and believe me, I had a lot of administrative duties, right?
Right.
I'm like anybody who's got a job,
Yeah,
right? So I don't know that we have to make them feel like they're above it, but I think to Scott's point, as they're going out to do these things, they have to have a certain gravitas to be able, so, you know, it's gonna be a unique person to find.
Right.
It is.
You know, one thing I might suggest is that we determine the primary objectives of this position with the board. So what are the primary duties? Is that public facing? What are the primary duties? And then go into the secondary duties and then tertiary. So whenever I build a JD, a job description, that's how I look at a position. How is it going to contribute to the organization? What are the primary objectives of the position? To Scott's point, public oriented. And then what are the secondary and tertiary? The third would probably be the administrative tasks. To Mary's point, that those are all the things that you do to perform the position. But primary, secondary, tertiary, if we break it down that way, I think we'll be comfortable with framing this position as to what we want this individual to focus on. Does that help?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
sure does.
So Jeannie, thank you for being willing to do that.
Well, I know, but when you think about job descriptions, that if you look at a job description, always you have those 3 tiers. And sometimes it's other duties as assigned, but that's how you want to organize your job description,
So
I think.
can we rope you into helping write it up?
Yeah, sure.
The right kind of
And what
format?
I am not, what I would do is I'd look at other executive director JDs, if we can get our hands on them. And then they will educate us about things we're not thinking about, to Scott's point. I think we've really got to be thoughtful about what do we want this position to do for the board, period. And we all probably got ideas, but then we should also look at traditional executive directors and other non-for-profit economic corporations. How are they, what is their roles and responsibilities?
Well, I'm thinking Tracy might be able to give us some, right, from MRB.
Yeah.
I have a couple I can.
Okay,
Scott's got some.
Scott's got some he can send us, so he's gonna send
Okay.
those. Which would be great.
Clayton doesn't have a job description for their.
No, they don't.
Yeah.
Who is, do we know who they're?
Chris did.
I don't know.
So it sounds like that the next step on this would be, that Jeannie's gonna take a stab at what you guys have in the spreadsheet, which is from the bylaws. And the comments, and then what Scott sends, and maybe for our March meeting, we would have an example of a job description. I mean, put it out there ahead of time and people can comment, Jeannie, so we can,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
kind of move on it.
And I'll share, Scott, if you can share any examples of executive director duties, roles, positions. I could throw it into a JD format, but just, I think then we as a board can then make input. I think this is the priority, secondary, tertiary, because I think that, you know, for me to make that determination, I'm a newbie, I can't do that. But all of you can make some decisioning, and with Scott's background, Dan's background, being in municipalities, working with other executive directors, I think we all can get the input we need to really create a job description. And to Mandy's point, it needs to be attractive to get the best talent. So I agree that I think if we're only gonna hire an administrative person, that's a different caliber than what we might intend it to become in the near future, so.
Right.
And based on that, I guess, the first thing would be write up the description and then, so I guess after that, maybe, once kind of that list is compiled, then maybe we could make a better determination as to how many hours a week and what salary
Yeah.
you think,
Yep.
sort of
Yeah.
as next
Yeah.
steps.
And in the meantime, we all keep on keeping on.
Yeah.
I mean, I think things are like, these are big tasks, but once these are, they gotta be done.
Yeah.
Mhm, yeah.
Good. So the next step will be, and Jeannie, when you have something, just send something out and then we can do comments on Word in the Google Drive and
Sure, I'll put it in the folder to review.
great. Thank you. Good.
Okay.
Great.
So
Good
then
progress.
so sorry. So last thing, did we say, I was just going to add to, obviously the blue is the new stuff, face of LDC business development. So then do we agree that the executive director will still be the one taking the minutes?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeannie and I are voting yes on that.
And other admin tests. Okay. So it's just updates there. And then I just had this on,
Attending board meetings.
Right. They've got to attend the meetings and take the minutes and
I think also the various economic development activities.
yeah. Good. Great. All right. Thank you guys very much. This is good. I mean, we're moving the conversation forward, which
We
is
are.
great.
Yeah.
and I'll go ahead and I'll post this too. I don't actually have it up on the Google Drive yet, but I'll post that. So it's just there kind of as a reference. So we had.
Good. Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Pam.
Thanks, Sharon.
Appreciate it. All right, Joe, update on website status.
All right, so I did install the video links, so all the meeting videos are on there. That's not an issue anymore. I want to add the grant link in the news to that, but I was thinking maybe we should add a whole grant section, kind of like how Clayton has. And I know it's not our grant, but just like we did with the projects, yeah. So
It's a
just
great
so it's
idea.
documented, it's on there, the
Yep.
track record. Does
I
anyone
like that.
disagree with that, or?
No, it's good.
No, that sounds good.
Right, so I'll write it up and maybe I'll send it to you, Scott, just to make sure I have the numbers right.
Yep.
All that. I finished the board member sheet with all our information up there. I'll email that tonight, but I spoke with Tracy. And she said the term start date should be based on appointments made by the town and village. And if they were made to quote unquote take effect immediately, would be the date the appointments were voted on. So I don't.
So I would say that would be the 12th of January,
That's all.
because that's when we did the resolution for this year and we decided everybody would be this year starting.
I'll make that change and I'll email that to everyone, post that tonight.
Great.
One of the requirements for the website is to have the same documentation we have for this meeting for all committee meetings. So the governance committee, we need to post minutes and we don't need videos of it, but you need to say when it's gonna be 14 days prior. Post an agenda.
Right, and I think
Minutes.
I think in the bylaws, they only have to, so they did have a meeting the other night, but I would call that a working session. So I think, Sharon, didn't you say at the last meeting, governance had to meet like twice a year or something?
Yeah, I think it was twice a year, and I think then we decided that our next sort of official meeting would be in June.
Yeah,
We have to know the same about finance too, when, how
Right.
often and when.
right, so maybe, finance, you guys are probably gonna meet on the RFP for the audit, right?
Mhm.
So would that be just another working session probably, or would you maybe make that an official?
I don't know,
meeting?
I don't even know where to find how often we have to meet. So,
It's, yeah, it's in the.
I could ask Tracy too.
well, we would have it in our,
It's in this document, I think that document. I can look that up while we continue and let
If
you
we
know.
don't have to tell us right now. but,
Yeah.
We need to get that organized, so like maybe another sheet in our folder of, here's when we have to do things.
Yeah, I thought there was something, there was like a checklist thing, but I think that might
Nothing
be
on
in
the
Paris.
compliance calendar, or is that?
Yeah, I think that's all like state stuff though that we have to do.
But yeah, kind of, that's what I'm talking about, so we don't list
Add it
some of
to
those things.
Yeah,
Right, the contact email address. I mean, I'd like to give the password to at least a few other people, if not everyone, just so everyone has it. In case something happens to me, or just for the sake of transparency. I could also make it a forward only address, so no one has to access it and check it. It'll just forward whatever messages get sent there to everyone. And then we could decide who responds or,
yeah. Yeah,
Or
that would be the
consent,
thing, we would want like two people responding.
right, at least someone's,
Yeah,
because if we start getting messages frequently, we don't wanna have to just constantly text each other, hey, we got an
Right.
email, who's gonna
yeah,
respond?
yeah, that makes sense. What do you guys think of, it gets forwarded to everybody and then I'll take the lead to answer or I'll ask somebody else to answer if I feel I'm not the appropriate person to answer.
That sounds good.
So I'm gonna just
If you
have
don't
it
mind.
forwarded.
But
to-
everybody then would know what's
Right,
what's going
right.
on. What do
Yeah.
you guys think?
That sounds good.
Okay,
So I'll check it and then I'll have it forwarded to you too.
yeah,
So it's 2 eyes on it.
yeah.
Then I'll send you the password.
Well, no, I think what we said is you'll forward the emails, anything that comes in will forward to everybody, but I'll be the first responder.
We'll just get it.
Yeah.
You'll get it.
Okay,
And like I
unless you
said, when
ask
I
us.
get it, then I could
Yeah.
say,
Then you
Dan,
don't-
would
you
you
don't have to
answer this
relay
one?
it.
Cause you're in a better position to answer it or whatever.
Are
But
you
that-
gonna make this email link an active link here, Joe?
Stop.
No.
Yeah, good. So the form in there,
Form is
if
here.
people fill out the form, it goes to that email and
Mm-hmm.
I'll make that link an active link.
Joe, for the password, could you just put, maybe do a file or a document on the SharePoint? So then if it changes or if you have to update it, we can just update that document?
I could. Yeah,
Unless you don't feel that that's secure.
Is it secure?
Yeah.
Cause we could have a password, if it is secure, I could put the bank account passwords there.
I mean, even
Is
if,
that a good idea or a bad idea?
I wouldn't put the bank password in it.
No.
Google Drive.
Right,
I mean, someone accesses the email, they're just gonna see some messages, and be able to take down videos, not much they can do. They
Right.
can't touch the website. But I could put that on the drive.
so it's not secure though.
I mean, it is to a point.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
we're talking
Nothing
about
is
money.
always-
Yeah.
I wouldn't put bank passwords on the drive. And lastly, Mandy, do you wanna go by Mandy or Amanda? Cause I keep going back and forth. With different.
You can do
documents.
Mandy.
Mandy. All right, yeah, that's it.
Update on office signage status. That's a tongue twister.
Yeah, so we're gonna do the one with the black outline. I think that'll pop more.
Mm-hmm.
Mark comes back on the 14th, and then he'll do it shortly after, he said, so hopefully by the end of next week. Early the following,
Oh, great.
he said it won't take long. I'll take a picture and let everyone know when it's on there. Yeah, I'll be
Good.
done by next meeting.
This is great. You've got a lot of information here.
The website's gorgeous.
Mhm.
It's gorgeous. Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you for all
Yeah, no problem.
that. All right, Dan, what's going on in the town?
Tibbetts Point, we have one more layer of rock to put on and we got our hand slapped by the National Park Service. Unbeknownst to us, we were supposed to get approval. We thought it was buildings and internal and external of the building, but apparently it's everything. So they've asked for some information, so we're forwarding that. I don't think there's any issues. They're excited that we're taking care of it, but we're learning as we go. Put the easy up skating rink out, or second as a wading pool with the weather we had today. I don't know if anybody's seen it over there, but
Where is it, Dan?
it's right, it's on the existing pad. I think it's-
Basketball,
I
right?
think it's 30 by 60.
I saw a picture on the Cape Vincent.
Yeah,
page,
chamber
which is great.
page,
There's one up at Sackett's. They went over and looked at it. goes up easy, stores easy. And it's one of those things where if it works and it's popular, we can add to it,
Nice.
and expand what we have. So that was a good thing. Website, the town is looking for information proposals on websites. We wondered if you would be interested in taking a look at what we need, what we're looking for, and put in a proposal.
Sure.
All right, I'll get hooked up with Michelle and see exactly, I don't think we're doing an RFP, so to speak, but at least she'll have some parameters of what we're looking for. You know what our website is now. But we're looking for, some proposals. So they brought it up, I don't know, last meeting, and I said, well, I just happen to know a guy that might be interested in making a few bucks. We're not paying him anything, so maybe.
He doesn't have any time.
Yeah, he's busy doing our free stuff.
But they all, they've seen the LDC and they're very impressed with it. So I'll get you some more information on that. Other than that, plug it away.
Good, thank you, Dan. Pam, Village.
I honestly can't think of a thing that Scott did not talk about, since you spent so much time here with Jerry and
Yeah.
Marty. Yeah, our projects are moving forward and we're waiting to hear back from New York Forward about they're figuring out the process too, so.
Yeah,
Just excited.
yeah,
Ready to roll.
and I should have copied everybody on that. I did send a note to Jerry to say congratulations. And in it, I said, this is the first grant that's sort of coming into the town or the village that the LDC has been a corporation.
Right,
We need to kind of figure out what our role is.
right.
And he was like, yeah, as we get more information, we'll have to figure out what our role is. But so it wasn't like a big, like, I didn't make a big proposal or anything. It was sort of just a like, this is great news and, let us know what we can do to help kind of thing. So, yeah, and I think he'll keep us informed, and as we know between Pam and Jerry, and Scott,
Yeah,
what would be the role that we might play.
I do have a few updates for the town and village that weren't in my report or and they're not on the agenda. So if you want me to go over them now.
Yeah, that would be great, since it's a village thing.
It's a village thing and there is one town thing and then there's another update as well. So Jerry asked me, Jerry would like to see if the LDC was interested in spearheading maybe a food truck, daily, weekly kind of thing in the Village Green area with, your local restaurants not opening, with a number of construction projects going on and workers in the area. He wanted to know if somebody wanted to maybe look at having like every Thursday food trucks parked down there. The village does have a permit process that we need to work on how to give them approval, but he wanted to know if like the LDC wanted to take that on as a project.
So I have a personal opinion on that. I think we should only be supporting local businesses. So if we wanted to ask, Cup of Joy or Frenchtown Market to do something like that, as opposed to bringing somebody from outside, I just really worry about our local businesses and if you got guys that are.
They're not opening now, so.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, the
They have the
deli at
opportunity.
but the deli at Frenchtown Market is open every day at lunchtime.
He just
So,
asked me to.
no, but so that, I mean, other people weigh in. I'm just,
Yeah.
that's my reaction. It's, I went in there the other day to get something and it was 11 o'clock and I was the first customer. We are going to be in sad shape if we don't have a grocery store downtown. And so, is there a way that we might talk to Frenchtown Market
So the
about,
one person that's doing everything right now, give him another thing to do. Maybe he'll want to.
well, I would think if he's trying to keep his doors open, I mean, it just, I'm probably more sensitive because my husband owned a small grocery store with a deli in a small town.
Right.
And, if somebody
No,
brought a
it's
food
hard.
truck in, it would have screwed his deli business. Because
And if
all
you're
the
doing-
farmers came in for lunch.
I think if you're doing it one day a week is maybe to bring more people into the community as well. Like when Lewis County does it on Food Truck Friday, 400 people go to their downtown to get food from the food truck and then they go to other businesses. I don't think it's just necessarily like a Monday through Friday thing, like he was saying, like 1 day a week or 1 day a month even to see how it goes, like just to get something different, maybe bring more people in. I think that was.
But I mean, that, again, that's just my point of view, but what do others think?
Yeah, I think you gotta be careful as well, but that was part of Edgewater's
Right, there was a food truck.
vision too, was to have a food truck day and just for that reason, it does bring in other people.
So I'm not sure how it fits with our mission or what we're, I guess, because of bringing in businesses, but, and I just wouldn't want to double up on doing stuff the chamber already might be doing, because they had worked with a food truck this summer, I think, or last summer, to bring a food truck in once a week, once a month. I can't remember what it was, but, you know, and I know they're working, the chamber's working with French Festival Committee to look at additional food trucks and stuff for that. So has he talked to the chamber about this before somebody else dives into it?
That I don't know. I can reach out to the
Okay.
chamber. I'll reach out to the chamber and ask them. I'll reach out to her.
Okay.
Me to bring it up.
I think, like, I agree that we want to make sure we support our local businesses, but I also, there's definitely a lack, and I don't know.
The other thing you could consider is not just the village. You could get the town of Cape Vincent, which when we do that, that expands the opportunity for local businesses to participate. And before we bring food trucks in, I would invite the local businesses to consider participation and give them the option to consider before we just, because there's other businesses, restaurants in the town of Cape that could potentially serve the need.
Yeah, there definitely are some.
Okay, I'll reach out to the chamber. I just was asked to share it.
Sure.
The other thing that's usually on the agenda, but it's not this time, is the Club Street waterfront.
Oh,
committee.
it was there. We
Skipped
just
it.
jumped right over it.
You went
So
from RFP to.
I
executive
did. It was
director?
just, I had so many notes written around that I missed it. So thank you, Scott. Would you like to give an update on Club Street?
Our Club Street Waterfront Committee met last week on Zoom. We had a good productive meeting. Everybody is going to review Greg's plan. And we're gonna come back in March with another meeting with some recommendations to take to the town to have Greg move forward. Since then, I think Greg and myself and Danny and Ben from Greg's company also have a meeting next week to discuss where they're at and what they want to do as next steps and how we want to proceed with that, maybe the week after 21st. And I believe the town is gonna possibly make an offer to Ron by March on the little gazebo in the left marina building. Right?
That was
By
our
the end of March.
discussion, and the steering committee would like the town to rescope the purchase of Captain Jack's towards that, and we're all in favor of doing that.
And the wording of the state contract is we didn't specifically name Captain Jack's. It said waterfront property purchase, so I've got written approval that it won't be any modification to the contract. It's just 268 or whatever the local match is from Captain Jack's. If we buy the other property on the other side, it still will apply to the grant.
Good, great.
So
That's great.
I know Marty was gonna talk last Thursday at the town board meeting about it and then try to work with the lawyers about giving him an official offer on the. Marty and Jerry and Marty wants to meet again in the next week or two to go through the appraisal and see what we can come up with specifically.
And so and just for notes, you said that the town wants to do this by March.
By the end of March, I believe was.
End of March,
at
was
least
it?
put
End
it-
of March? I
at
just
least
want to
put
make
an
sure I got
offer
it right.
on by the end.
By end of March.
Length the basis and get started with something.
Okay, good. And by end of March. I just want to make sure I had it right. Okay. Was there anything else, Scott?
No, those are the only updates I believe I have.
Okay, good. And thank you for catching the Club Street. Yeah, it's always on there.
We
It was
finally met.
report and I skipped it. Awful. All right, good. Mandy, we already talked about childcare, so on to new business. We did the RFP format and process. Okay, Jeannie, talk a little bit about your thoughts on the forums. That's next
Yeah.
up.
So I was hunting for my document. Mary, did you get my document that I sent you, just information on focus groups?
When did you send it?
I've got to look, I think it's in my work computer, but so I did a little research on focus groups in governmental municipalities. And I found some really interesting research that talks about, what is the purpose of our focus group? What do we want? How do we want to impact the community? And because I'm a little gray still with our mission and vision and where we're going, I thought the first thing we want to do as a board is really identify what are we trying to obtain from public opinion. And that public opinion can be various demographics. It can be business leaders, it can be clergy, it can be educational people, the schools, whoever, seniors. But I guess for me, the first thing I want to scope in is what kind of information are we trying to obtain? And is it scoped only in the economic development arena? And so as I started doing this research, I really was confused as what are we trying to achieve in our focus groups? And so I thought I wanted to bring that back to you guys and say, what are we trying to obtain from these focus groups? Is it all oriented to economic development? Or is it oriented in different topics? And that's what I wanted to get input from the group.
So we did way back when, before I think we were a corporation, we personally did a brainstorming session of things we thought would enhance the community. We had ATV trails and, bringing in businesses. And there's a presentation out on the share drive that has a kind of a mind map kind of a look to it that had all of those ideas. Last year, right, Scott chaired a meeting with the town board, the village board, and with us, where he talked about, here are some grants that are available, what might we apply for? And one of the things we talked about, my recollection was, what we tried to do was say, here's money, what might we fit into it, as opposed to saying, what do we really want to prioritize and where is their money, which is sort of a flip of what we did in that meeting. Does anybody else recall that? Okay, good. Just checking, because I'm getting older. Just got older. And so the idea here would be to get community involvement, and as you're saying, with focus groups, where we could get some input from them on what they think are the most important things for us to focus on. So it's just not us, 9 people, but it's a broader audience of people, so that we could do that flip, right? So we could say to Scott, I'm going to make this up, walking trails is the most important thing we could do for Cape Vincent. Who could we go to get money for walking trails, kind of a thing. Or who could we partner with? That was my thought around why we wanted to get some community input. What do other people?
I think the LWRP document is really gonna
help
do a lot of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
We had open forums, we had different projects, we had people put sticky notes on and make comments. I mean, it was a long, drawn out community involved process.
Yeah, and I think you're right, Dan. I think that'll be really helpful. My only fear is that was 2018.
Well, it's the same projects. I mean, it goes back to 40 years ago. We were looking at the same projects. It's waterfront. And to answer your question, Gene, my opinion is 99% is economic development. I believe that's why we're here, is we want more year-round people, we want more summer people, we want more tax base, and we want more things for kids, seniors and tourists to do. And that's gonna bring, but it's all based on a transition, a slow transition. I can't remember the term we used when we went through it, but responsible development.
So would you, and also, you didn't mention businesses, but
That's a,
Well,
that's, yeah,
a
no,
key
I
thing,
just,
yeah.
yeah, when you listed the things, I mean,
economic, and people are gonna bring business.
right, but they gotta have businesses to go to.
I think one of the things we need to do is, once we get that plan, kind of go through it and pick some key things, but also use that if we do the focus groups to kind of focus people in, because if we don't have some type of focus, people are just gonna start screaming at, just like, it's gonna be way too much. But I also think we need to use the focus groups on updating people on what we've done, what we have already in the works, so they know, like, they know East End Park is getting done, or, what's going on with Club Street, so we can give them a good overview of where we're headed, what we already have in the works. But we do need their buy-in, so people aren't complaining about their tax money being spent, even though it's grant money. Just that education piece, I think, is one of the things that's lacking. But I agree with Danny. I think a lot of the work that we did, we had a lot of people at that meeting, and it wasn't just our committees, it was broad. So I don't know, I just wanted to throw that in as well.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mandy. I think, I mean, people sort of know we're there, right? We put our board meetings in the what's happening, and Dan publishes them and lets people know. Nobody comes, but some way to get people educated, I think is absolutely an important piece of it.
So with those focus group structures, guys, we can have at the front end an introduction about our what we've done, the intent, our intentions, and what has been accomplished. So, with a focus group, you want to segment the demographics of a population. Let's use business owners. So we really do want to emphasize the accomplishments thus far. And moving forward, for that particular group, it might be, economic development initiatives. And then you ask the same questions of each focus group, but in different ways that are what's in it for me audience. So business people are going to want different things than, say, year-round residents, things of that. But what's in it for them? But orientating the questions towards, to Dan's point, economic development.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So
that's where I need framing.
Yeah, so I guess my question would be, based on that conversation, is do we need to wait till the LWRP is in? Yeah, I mean, do we think it's in a good enough shape that we could use that as a basis for that framing? If that's the
Certainly gonna help.
Yeah.
I mean, there's gonna be a lot of information in there.
Yeah.
And we'll have it hopefully in a week to two.
Right.
So not finalized.
Help me, what do you call it? The WRP?
No, it's
LW.
LW, so Local Waterfront Development Revitalization Plan.
Okay, got it. And that's in our files?
No,
it will be soon.
It will be. They're waiting for the final thing, so it's 2 weeks.
Okay.
So yeah, so we don't have it. We don't have it yet. Yeah.
Okay.
So, all right. So does that make the most sense to everybody? We wait until Scott can give us what he thinks is at least the version that's going to go through the 60-day review with all of those agencies. And that could help us with the framing.
Well, unless there's other ideas. I mean, Manny brought up things for youth. This Jody May is interested in senior citizens. Doing something for our senior population. I mean, those are things that we can start right away on. The LWRP is going to help. It's certainly not going to be the end all.
Right.
But
I think what we need to do is have like a little subcommittee, so we're not trying to make the sausage at these meetings, and just come back with a plan. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. Like, we've been here for 2 hours. We're not even through the agenda yet. I'm just.
Yeah. So Mandy, I think that's a great suggestion. Would you like to chair a small work group to do that?
I will be part of it. I do not have the time to chair it right now. I'll be honest with you. I'm sorry, but I will happily help other people.
Yeah, and I agree with you. A long meeting, you start to lose focus and accomplishment. But there's things here that Carol mentioned, they need to be done. Once they're done, we are gonna be able to focus, I think, a lot more on what are we doing?
Right,
What do we wanna do?
right.
So,
I need to be ready, yeah.
All right, so to Mandy's suggestion, so it's gonna be a couple of weeks before we have what we think is the close to final
No,
LWR.
I'll have it. I've got her attention right now. That's why I keep typing. We're going back and forth. I hope to have it Monday, because I need to have it to DOS's lawyer
Okay.
on Monday. For
All right,
approval.
and so, all right, so let's do it this way in the entrance of time. If you can post that out in the share drive,
Since I have the
Right.
clean copy.
he'll give us a clean copy. And then I will send an email out, well, that will say who would like to work on this, and we will have separate Zoom meetings on that, and people can just volunteer via email. Does that seem acceptable?
Yes.
Okay.
and the other thing is, don't be afraid to bring in outside people.
Right,
No, but I think that was the idea, Dan, was the focus groups, right? So Jeannie's suggestion was, so they're not, coming in and saying, let's,
No, but I'm saying on a specific focus group, don't be afraid to ask somebody that you know would be all over that. To sit on that focus group.
Right.
It hasn't gotta be just us. It's my
oh,
focus.
right, no, that's what she's suggesting, that we would have a series of focus groups. And we would
Invite people, have invitations of people. Yep.
Yeah, so that would be absolutely, it's just for us to get that input, but we
Get
would
started.
invite groups.
I think what Dan is saying is we can ask outside people to help us get that, even the focus groups up and going, right? Is that what you're
Yes.
saying?
Yes, we invite them. Yes.
I mean, like Jody May, I don't even know her last name, but she is so excited about this.
Right, and you said and we're gonna put her on the March agenda.
Yep.
So we just, because tonight was long. Yes, Scott.
Had from 2018, we had a big meeting here with like 40 or 50 people where we did a SWOT, strength, weakness.
Yeah,
I go through this list and it's all still the same. Like everything on here is accurate almost to today. So if you want, I will share this and I'll
Yeah.
meeting to review this as a starting point.
okay,
I'll set up a Zoom with whoever on this committee wants to meet and we can go through this and see if they still relate to today. And this could
Yep.
be a starting point, because this had,
yeah.
because even though
They're in, yeah.
like the projects I had last year about grants, this has a number of things as opportunities that have nothing to do with those. So this
Okay.
has a number of projects
Good.
or things that the community wanted to
Yep.
see to improve the quality of life, to bring in new residents, to keep younger people wanting to reside here. So I'll do that. I'll take this and share it with everybody, and then I'll send out an invitation to do a Zoom, and we can review this and use that as a starting point for
perfect,
everybody.
Perfect.
good,
Awesome.
perfect. Thank you,
That's
Scott.
good. Thank you.
All right, moving on. So Scott's gonna organize that meeting, and, Jeannie, hopefully you can be a part of it since you've got some of the framework. I will be part of it. Hopefully Mandy can, and anyone else who's interested in participating. We are running long on time. Mandy, I put a presentation out there. We had talked about having a stakeholders meeting, where we would talk to people like Jefferson County IDC and Danic and Thousand Island Land Trust, and we would invite these people. There was a document that I put out there that was, the LDC strategic partnerships.
I was on it. You can see that?
Yeah.
I added some links to the people who lead them and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so we have some input. I would just request that everybody go out and look at that again. I'll put it in action items. I just don't think we're gonna get through this tonight. So hopefully we can spend more time planning on our March meeting. We'll have had the meeting with Scott and had some more on the focus groups. I would ask that I'm going to put action items to add comments to Mandy's presentation, which is out there. I am going to, I'll send a link. I did send a link. I sent a note that said it was out there, but I'm going to send it, just like I did last time, I'll send a separate action item note, and then we'll have the formal minutes, because it just makes it easier, because otherwise the action items are all the way through it. So we'll have an action to review that. anybody to add anybody else who should be part of a strategic partnership meeting. I'll put a link to that as well, so people can add to that. And then we'll work on planning the meeting. The only thing I wanted to bring up, thank you, Scott. The only thing I wanted to bring up in this meeting is, I don't know how many of you are members of Tilt. But Tilt just got another land grant. I'm very aware of this because it abuts my property in the back, which I'm thrilled with. It's not a problem for me. They had a 53-acre preserve, which is a section up by the lighthouse. They have gotten an additional 361 acres, which is kind of between Wilson's Point Road and Tibbetts Point. It's in that section. I do have a map if anybody wants to see it. It was in the Tilt brochure from last time. The only reason I bring this up is, you know, this might be something where the LDC wants to get involved with Tilt sooner rather than later, because this would be a wonderful area. We did talk about walking trails and, you know, and there was the meeting that they had, remember that? It was not a successful meeting, but this is now property that Tilt owns. This isn't like, we want you to give us part of your property and have people walk across it. It's a different situation. I would like to recommend that we have a conversation with Tilt and see what their plans are, see where we might be of assistance on it. What do you guys think of that?
That's very good.
Absolutely.
He worked for him before, right?
Who works for him?
She was on our committee.
Shannon.
Shannon.
He was on our
Shannon
committee.
Walters was on our LDC committee.
Okay,
And she took a
So-
job down, but she might be a good one to start with.
yeah. Well, I think we can even go to Jake. I mean, the head of it. But, so I know that you have a relationship with a person there.
Yep, Tara, my niece,
Is the,
she's the Director of Development and Communications.
okay, so, how do people feel if Carol, you know, reaches out? I'm happy to reach out with you if that's helpful with your schedule. Just to reach out, see what their plans are, bring it back, you know, let them know we're here, even though it's a little premature to the bigger stakeholder meeting. I think Tilt will be one of our strategic stakeholders. Everybody okay
That'd
with
be
that?
great.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So Carol, you want to make the first inroads in that?
What am I gonna call this acquisition?
I'm not sure what they call it. I would just say the new acquisition by Wilson's Point Road.
You know, just snap a picture. Thank you.
Okay. With that, we need, anything else from the floor?
Oh, just real quick, Mary, do you mind capturing the action? Otherwise I'll maybe forget, just for me to add the indemnification, whatever the word is, clause to the RFP form, please.
Yes, I can add that.
Thank you.
Don't it? Yeah, I didn't spell out indemnification. I abbreviated. All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion,
Who was that?
Jeannie,
Jeannie, okay, so sorry, I wasn't looking up. Okay, Jeannie motioned. Dan, did you second?
I guess so.
All right, because you were sort of simultaneously, so I'm gonna let her go first. All right, guys, no, it was a long meeting. There was a lot to do. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
We'll talk via email. Bye, everyone.
That's good. Bye.